Jim Duquette, I had no idea you were a Taylor Swift fan, and I just thought that was oddly appropriate, sir, this morning. Thank you for playing that.
Absolutely. You have
Yeah.
no idea when I'm at a stoplight, all the looks I get.
There you go. There you go. All right. How's it feeling?
Good, good. We'll see next week. I think we've got some interesting things that'll probably come down the line in the next couple days. But I keep on telling all our agents, I think we got another good solid couple months before we start hitting some weird areas.
Yeah. What do you think's coming down the pipe in the next week that we should pay attention to?
Well, the biggest thing is Fed's meeting this week.
Yeah.
Right. And so if we believe history can tell a story of what may be to come, the Fed is indicating that we're going to see at least 2 more hikes, and then they're probably going to pull off a little bit. And so if we see that rate increase this week, probably around that 0.5%, I expect we kind of see what we did back in May.
Yeah.
Where we had the drop in the showings, and then consequently we'll have that little bit of drop in active contracts or option contracts. And then, man, I don't know. But I feel like the Fed is kind of pulling these little puppet strings, and we'll probably see a couple of weeks of a little bit of a drop, just to get people rushing back in to get some rate locks in, and then we'll finish out the summer.
You know, the rates obviously took to the mortgage experts, but they actually came down last week. They were up in that upper 5 percentile range, and then started to come back down closer to under 5.5, closer to 5.25 maybe, which at the end of the day seems high to us because we lived for so long at 3% interest rates. But there's still people out there refinancing, which is just crazy to me. But what I do think people are doing is cashing out equity in their houses.
Yeah.
And they're doing it at these rates. So anyway, let's jump into the numbers as always and see what this looks like. So Rockwall County, 165 active listings. That's quite a bit more than what we've seen. We saw it back in May 2nd, but 165 active listings. What I noticed, Jim, on here is closings were up in Rockwall County. And I think it's important to pay attention to this, because when I jump over here to Dallas County, active inventory is up. I don't know how they got exactly 1,111. But look at what happened in closings. Now, I always caution, 1 week doesn't always tell the story, but it sure looks like the closings really fell down in Dallas County, which could be a portion of the inventory. We're really keeping our eye on this closing number to see if the closings are slowing down. Collin County had 880 active listings, up, which we've been begging for, but are we begging for it at the expense of less closings, right? These two numbers work together. So Collin County, you kind of look across the board, 310 is the lowest number. So you could make a case that the closings showed down in Collin County. Dallas County, 463 is certainly the low number. So you can make the same case in Dallas County, right? Denton County, which I like to look at because it's another large county, 890 active, sold 314, maybe not as much, right? But if I get out here to, Hunt County, not a lot of variables, but they're still holding. Henderson, we showed 22 solds. Lake property tends to be a little bit immune, especially going into the summer. But they've got 25 pending and 95 active. So this market seems to be pretty strong. not necessarily the same case in what I'm seeing in the others. What are you seeing, Jim?
Yeah, in looking at kind of the second week numbers, it may just be that second week of the month. The nice thing to look at is our inventory is going up, but our active option contracts are going up. So it's really good for agents to recognize that. I mean, just the opportunity that's right there. Even with the interest rates at where they're at, you're still sitting in a really good market right now.
Yeah, for sure.
The inventory is going up. You should be chasing after all the listings you can be getting to and trying to shake out all the buyers you can, because all these buyers were frustrated and sitting on the sideline. Well, let's try to reintroduce them back into the market. Now, some of them may have just gotten priced out because of, well, the prices and then interest rates coupled together and everything else going on in the economy. So, it can be difficult for a lot of people, but there's an opportunity for others.
Of course. Well, at the end of the day, we've been waiting for this inventory. I still say opportunity is upon us to go get people into houses. And competition is much less than it was a year ago. But it's still pretty tight competition in a lot of places, right?
Yeah.
So it's worthy of talking to. I want to jump over to, I'm on the National Association of Realtors website, and I'm under their statistics section. If you go under research and statistics, and there's an affordability distribution curve. And the biggest thing when we start talking about a shift or everything economically changing, whether it's interest rates or home sales or this, that, and the other, it's this word affordability. That ultimately is what drives our success in the industry. The ability for people to buy houses, and different people score it differently. But basically, I'll give you an easy explanation. A perfect one score says median income can buy median price house. So my median income in the area is the exact amount of money it would take to purchase the median price house, and we're a perfectly affordable state. Now, if the number goes over one, that means my median income can buy a greater than median price house. Or if it goes less than one, it says that median income can only buy half a median price house, meaning I might need double the income to buy the median price house. So for instance, Idaho, you basically need double the median income to buy a house there, which is crazy. I've been to Idaho, wasn't my favorite state, but we'll leave it there. But you can see Idaho's right here, and you can see the entire West Coast is that dark blue, with, in addition to Florida and some of the bigger states like New York, right? Affordability is really tight in that part of the country. Texas comes in at 0.75. So what's that mean? You want to take a stab at it?
As far as the income that
Yeah, it basically says median income can only buy 3/4 of a median price house. So therefore, we have a little bit of an affordability issue, but most states do right now, because median incomes has not gone up proportionately to median price houses. The home price appreciation has gone up way faster than income appreciation. And you throw rising interest rates, you throw inflation, all that stuff, it's going to jack with affordability. And the reason I like to bring this up is not to throw negative or positive. It's just, it is what it is. But you're going to hear a lot about affordability going on in the near future, because the prediction is prices are not going to come back down.
Right.
So affordability is going to be our number one thing until incomes raise. in relation to prices. How do you think about it?
Mixed bag. Even as we're talking here, just trying to wrap my head around it, because I think we start feeling the pressure of this in 2 to 3 years, really.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of people that are able to cash out of their houses and take in a lot of equity into the market, and it can offset some things. But so yeah, I really feel like in about 2 or 3 years, we start feeling the pressure of this a little bit more. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know if we truly start staying in the house longer so we can build that equity. And then, it's going to shift our business even more so in how we market and how strategic we are. And I think predictive analytics can come into play a lot more too.
Yeah, for sure. There's a graph down here I thought was interesting. In Dallas, Fort Worth, it's probably better to look at this bar chart. It said number of listings. Now, this was back in December. Number of listings that households can afford to buy by income level. So if they're making $500,000 and up, there was 11,000 houses they could buy at that moment in time. And then 499, 199, 149, 124. And you really see a big drop off at $100,000. And so it just kind of gives you perspective of if I'm doing strategic marketing, I certainly need to be marketing to people that have an affluence of this level, but I also need to understand that there's a big discrepancy here in affordability in housing, and not just affordability, but the number of listings that are even the competition. Meaning, if I get a buyer that makes $75,000 a year, I'm fighting over these 740 listings. But if I have that same buyer that makes $100,000 a year, now I'm fighting over 5,500 listings. It's a big difference, right?
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. Tell me about this article. You brought this one to the table.
Yeah. Dallas Business Journal had a really similar article. They just phrased it differently. But I chose to send this one over to you to take a look at, just because of how it's worded on here, of home lending activity plummets 20%. I can't stress to agents enough if you see verbiage like this, to dive in deeper, because this can look scary and it can look like the sky is falling. I've had agents coming into the office of really concerned about where we're going in the market. And I tell them, pump the brakes a little bit. Let's just talk some truths. So if you start looking into the article, this 20%, we're starting to go over the activity has fallen 20% over the last quarter. Now that's not nothing, but at the same point, yeah, we've got buyers that are falling out because of interest rates going up. But look at what the market is continuing to do. Is our closed sales we're down right now of about 3%. Pendings are down about 3%. But if you look at from quarter one of 2020, we're up 27%. So when we started looking at last year and kind of coming out of pandemic, the numbers were really so skewed, and we were in these just largest home buying trends that we've really seen. And it wasn't stable to continue going up that way. Gary even talked about it back in February of, if we continue that way, we're just heading back into this 2008 bubble. But with us doing what we're doing right now is actually extremely healthy. But look at going into last year of this extraordinary growth, we're up 27% from the previous quarter.
Yeah.
Or the previous quarter one. So like I said, affordability is a problem. There's no way around that. Don't know what the solution is there, but we have a lot of equity that's out there. And we have a lot of money that's moving in from out of state, a lot of headquarters coming in. I think the job growth potential is huge in this area. not from a perspective of where we're at right now and where we're going. There's a lot of technology that's coming in, and I think we're going to be another technological hub, especially with all our logistics centers. So we're going to continue to see, I think, headlines phrased like this.
Yeah.
But we really need to know what the market's really doing around it.
Sure. And 20% backwards activity in home lending doesn't always translate to 20% backwards activity in home sales. How many people, like these power buyers, they're buying as cash. Does that mean that that's counted as a loan or not? You know what I mean? There's a lot of different variables. Now, is it probably gone backwards? Yeah, of course it probably has. Is it as drastic as this says? No. And that's what you're trying to point out. However, I like to always remind everybody, there's always opportunity in every market. So if you're savvy, if you're smart, if you're aggressive, there's opportunity in all this. And I just go back to the easiest opportunity, Jim, is I got inventory that I haven't had. What am I going to go do with that? That's the biggest opportunity before us right now. And moving on. So this article talked about why home building is slumping in the suburbs north of Dallas. I think we've talked about this before, but I saw some of these numbers, which I thought were interesting. It said Frisco's fallen 42% for the year. Salinas slid 34%. Prosper's plunged 17. Prince and McKinney are down 14 and 11. I think it's known that the new construction is not going to be as thriving, and it's going to go backwards before the resale market goes backwards first. And I actually think this is a good thing for us. So as I was reading this article, Jim, for our industry as a general, we get one opportunity for commission if we buy a new construction. If we're doing a resale, there's two opportunities for commission. So there's a listing agent and a buyer agent on resale, where on the new construction, there's just a buyer's agent, right? There's very little seller listing opportunities in new construction. So if the home builders pull back on inventory, it actually turns out to give us more at bats at the table for people to go buy and sell real estate. And I see that as a good thing on one hand. Of course, it's inventory will pull down and we get that. But what do you make of this? Are you surprised by this?
No, and I can't remember if it was this article or another one. They talked about some of this, not all of it, but some of it has to do with just land running out in the areas. There's only so many places to build. But you read something like this, and then if you pay attention to what's going on in the city council meetings, or just hop onto the Texas A&M real estate research site, read through some of these other articles, there is so much kind of mega subdivisions coming in. Just down the road in Royce City, you finally got a Bearpin Creek that's coming in, and it's something like 4,000 homes or 3,000 homes. But there's going to be a lot of rooftops coming up. But I think it is going to be kind of in the slowdown mode. They're waiting for some costs to come down. But they're also trying to make sure that they don't get submerged into something that they don't, in a bad situation where they're all stuck with a lot of inventory and then they're sinking prices. Yeah, but I agree with you. There's a lot of good
things. The wounds of 2007 are still fresh in a lot of their minds. There's not a whole lot of new big production builders in the marketplace that weren't also here in 2007. So they remember. Yeah. All right. You gave me this site. I thought this was interesting. Where were you going?
Yeah, no. So I mentioned earlier, just a lot of the technology that's coming in. This is actually something my wife became a part of, as I think they were the 1st company to use this company. But Waymo, they're owned by Google. and they're autonomous driving trucks, like diesel trucks. So taking the driver out and having AI drive a truck down the interstate. Now this goes into talking a lot about how, they're looking at all these different areas where they can put these sites for logistics centers, and along I-35, 45, I-30, 20. But when we started talking about, all right, how does the economy kind of move forward? Where does some of this growth potential come in salaries? It's industries like this that we're not necessarily paying attention to. I think they said like this really won't take off until about 2025. But it's really interesting to see how the landscape in the Metroplex is changing. And there's a lot of innovative technology coming in that is just going to change the entire landscape. I don't think we're through with any big price hikes in the Metroplex. I think industries like this coming in are going to bring a lot of other job opportunities and salary increases over time. And I think it's only going to make the area grow more.
Yeah, that's always been one of the big plays in Dallas is it's an industry where it attracts new businesses all the time. And it's certainly what I'm hearing you say is it's starting to attract a lot of the tech space, like where Austin typically got the Teslas of the world, the maybe not the big tech players, but the in-between tech players are being attracted to Dallas Fort Worth for sure.
Yeah, if you just look at how we're situated with all our highways, it is such a big hub. This makes perfect sense, and I can see a ton of growth happening because of it.
Yeah, that's good. All right, so the chief economist for the National Association of Realtors said, here's the 6 things, Jim, we need to know about the housing market right now. This was updated this morning. So here's his 6 things. Buyers need to rerun numbers as mortgage rates rise. Mm-hmm. What do you think he means by that?
As these interest rates are, their debt to income ratios are going to be changing. Their what they can afford, what they can, their budget allows is going to change pretty frequently between the rising prices, rising interest rates. It can throw things out of whack pretty easily.
Yeah. You ever heard of a lender not locking a buyer's interest rate before?
I can remember a time that happening. Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's not something to play with right now. People always gamble with interest rates like they try to gamble with the stock market or whatever. Yet you need a great lender that's a great consultant, but this is not something to play around with, because half a point interest, 1 point interest can really change things for most people. The other thing is inventory shortages persist. I 1,000% agree with that. We go back to this and talk about how excited we are that the inventories come up, but at the end of the day, we're still low inventory, and it's still going to continue to be an issue. And I also don't want you to be discouraged to think the opportunity of more inventory is upon us, and I do see that as opportunity. And this is a bigger scope, saying it's still not 6 months of inventory. Is basically what he's saying.
Right. Resale market is still below 2.
Yep. Home prices will generally remain high. I agree. I don't think we're going to see a price depreciation. I think you might see it in some parts of the country, but not Dallas Fort Worth. Do you agree with that statement?
1,000%.
Yep. And prepare for high prices on suburban homes in particular, meaning it's good affordability. We keep coming back to this word. It's going to be a big deal. Like the price of homes are going up and up and up, and the ability to afford them is going to be challenging. Think about people that wanted to buy real estate in New York City or LA, and affordability was always an issue, right? So it changes people's buying patterns over time, we just got to keep our eye on it, right?
Yeah, as we eat up land and we have more building, the builders are helping push up that price. And so it makes a ton of sense that the more building we see, the more those prices are going to go up in our area or areas. Yeah.
We've talked about this before. It's a big debate if the ARM mortgage is a good or a bad thing right now. I've heard the 7-year is actually a pretty good rate right now. But it looks like the 5-year is what he's saying, where you could get a 3.9% on a 5-year ARM versus a 5.57 on a 30-year fixed. That 1.7 or whatever it is. It's a big difference in affordability, no?
Yeah, it's a ton.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it, but I think for the diligent person, it can be a good thing for them. But my fear is that we get a lot of people that aren't diligent and they start running up on those terms and things get crossed in a few years.
Yep. So I'll just pull up the headlines. All the headlines right now you're going to read are the stock market's just getting obliterated right now. And that's going to create a lot of fear and anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's less than it would have been 5 years ago, because I think less and less people are all in on the stock market and they're much more diversified these days. However, I'd like everybody to be prepared for the news. The media is going to be talking about this. They already are. Just know, be prepared to answer any questions about it. All right, Jim, talking points. What do we got to make sure everybody has in their vernacular this week?
Be able to take advantage of situations. Look at the timeline of the summer right now. We have a potential interest rate hike this week. And then we've got July 4th coming around the corner. And you don't really know how July 4th ever shakes out, right? It can be extremely slow. It can be just scheduled packed. Take advantage of the weekends right now. Open houses, get out there, do them. This is, if we hit a week of dips and showings, this could be a really good open house weekend, and maybe the really good last open house weekend you see until July 11th or so. And then you've got another couple of weeks until another interest rate hike at the end of July. Take advantage of the situation that you're given right now and not wait, right? Summertime, great time to spend with the family. But if you're building your career, right now is a time to really be pressing the pedal down.
There you go. Open house is a great point. Free business, right?
Yeah.
And they say, Gary made mention that open houses is one of the first places to keep your finger on the market, right? The number of people walking in, what the people are saying, you're in conversations about real estate and how they're thinking about real estate. So big encouragement. Jim, always a pleasure.
Have a great week.
Be good.